Okay, let's get going here. What I'm going to show you is how to back up your WordPress site using a special plugin. And so it's really easy to do. And what we're going to do is use this plugin to back up to the cloud like Dropbox so that you're not just storing your backup on the server where your website is, or you're not just storing it on your hard drive of your computer, both of which could be places that your computer could fail. Then what do you do? And your web server, obviously, if you get a virus or something like that, or somebody hacks in to your site, sometimes they are exploring all over your web server. So not the best place to store backups and keep important files. So we want to back up to a cloud location like Dropbox so that you kind of have an independent, totally accessible place where you can get these files and store them quite easily. So and get to them quite easily. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get started here. Now, all we have to do, so I'm logged into my WordPress dashboard here. Go to plugins, and then we're just going to say add new. So let's do that, and then that will just take a second here. And then we're going to load up a plugin called UpdraftPlus. And so I'm just going to type that keyword in, and that's going to bring up the backup plugin that we're going to use in this example today. However, you could always just do backup or backup to Dropbox, or there's a variety of different plugins. They all have their pros and cons, I think, and you can kind of see based on active installations and reviews and stuff what other people think about them. But certainly if you need more info about any of them, just click on the more details link, and that'll open up a new page. And there's Duplicator. That's another plugin I actually use quite a bit, but it does not automate the backup process. It's kind of more for making a duplication of your site and making it easy to move a website from like server to server, that kind of thing. So anyway, here's our UpdraftPlus WordPress backup plugin. So I'm just going to click install now, please. And we'll do that, and then it's going to pop up with a blue button that says activate. And we'll do that as well. So easy so far. Just like always with WordPress plugins, they work pretty easily. So now that it's installed, we can either get to the settings from here, from the plugins list, or you'll notice that you have a new link in your settings menu. So UpdraftPlus Backups. So we'll click on that, and that's going to open up the main settings page. And let's let that open up. And so what you've got are a series of tabs here that I want to point out. Current status, backups, settings, tools, etc. Right? So obviously we don't have any backups completed. That's okay. So you can back up right now if you want, but let's just go ahead and do their settings first. Okay, so the first thing we're going to tell it is how often we want to back up things. So I like the sort of weekly or fortnightly, which is bi-weekly basically. And so let's just set it to weekly. And then let me just explain really quick here. There's files and there's database. So WordPress installs a bunch of files on your web server, like the style sheets and the images and stuff like that. Those are all just files on your web server. Then you've got the database where sort of all a bunch of WordPress information, including like the stuff you write in your blog posts and on your website. The database is where all that stuff is stored. So they're two separate things, or at least they're treated separately with many plugins with regards to backups. And so you definitely want both of these things backing up kind of on the same schedule at the same time. So make sure you set those, whatever you choose here, choose them both to be the same schedule. So now the next step is going to be choosing where in the world you want your backups to go. Now I like to use Dropbox. I kind of have a premium plan there, so I have like 1 terabyte of storage. You could certainly use Amazon S3. That's another good place, and that's free, you know, for doing your uploads. And then you've got all these other options as well. So I know with like OneDrive and Google Drive, you get a certain amount of space, even with Dropbox, for just signing up. You don't have to pay for any storage if you don't want to, but I just have enough backups that I do across my websites and client websites that you know, I have to have a premium plan. But anyway, so let's click Dropbox. You click whatever you want there. And then what's going to happen is we just need to keep scrolling down the page. So the next thing I need to do, see, it tells me in the instructions here, after I've saved my settings, by saving changes below, come back here and click the link to complete authentication. So we'll do that in a minute. The next thing we need to do is just make sure we tell it what to back up. I just kind of leave this stuff default. You can get technical here and sort of exclude certain things if you'd like, but I don't worry about it. And then you can also have the app email you every time a backup occurs. So I leave that unchecked because I just get too many of those emails, but it is worth doing just so that you can kind of tell, you know, at least for a while, make sure that your backups are working. So do that at least at first, and then I use another dashboard tool just to manage all the websites, so I don't have to worry about getting those emails. But okay, so here we go. Forgive my resolution is a little low here. So I have another step to complete, so I need to click this and then log into Dropbox. So I'm going to click this link. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually just pause the video and get logged into Dropbox, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just going to click complete. Okay. All right. We'll click complete setup. Okay, good. Well, since I've already authenticated Dropbox, I guess recently I must be still logged into Dropbox, but usually what happens is Dropbox will pop open a window that will ask you to log in, and that'll be the same with any of the other cloud accounts. So that just worked because I'm already logged in on this machine to Dropbox, so it just sort of automatically found that for me. So, and I'm not scared about that at all. They just kind of, you know when you're logged in and all that stuff, I guess. So no big deal there. So everything is good. Now let's go back to settings. Okay, it says we're authenticated there, and it says I'm already authenticated. Okay, good. And then when you're ready, if you ever want to change to a different backup location, you'll have a place down here where you can basically just unlink your folder, from whatever cloud storage you want, and then set up a new one if you want. So that's basically how it works. Now at this point, since I've set this up to go weekly, it's not going to actually start a backup right now. It's going to wait a week. So that's something you should know. So if you really, the smart thing would be, oh, okay, good. It is actually going to start one now. So forget what I just said. It does that. So I've been using this a long time, and I swear it didn't used to. But either way, you can just click backup now if it doesn't automatically start one for you. So that is doing a backup. Now, while that's working, I'm going to show you a couple of the email messages, and I just want to talk through a couple of things that are really important, just so you know how this works. So I'm going to show you first a message that you get in your email. So let me just minimize this screen and bring it all into view here. All right. So this is an example of the email you get when everything worked. Okay, so the backup apparently succeeded and is now complete. Okay, so this is just, I just searched in my inbox for an old email. Now I've got another one here, which is one where it failed. So here we go, is that email. And so what happened here is the backup succeeded, which it almost always does. I've never seen the backup actually fail unless your site goes offline, like the web server is down or something. But it failed to upload to Dropbox. Now what it will say in here is, and see, this is something that happens with client sites sometimes, or business websites where they don't get a lot of traffic, or anybody's website really. It just depends on what you use it for and stuff. But if you don't get a lot of traffic to the website, then for some reason Updraft doesn't quote unquote get the resources it hoped for. And so I don't really know what that means, but it gives you this link where you can go and kind of read more about it. So that's kind of the main reason why you want to get these emails, is just to know that okay, it's not uploading to Dropbox anymore, so I should probably go check it out and initiate a backup myself. Now the other thing I wanted to point out here is that even though it may have failed, now let's say you wake up and your website's been hacked and you can't get into it anymore, and then you go to your email because you're like, well, at least I have a backup, and then you see this and it looks like it failed to upload the backup. Well, the first thing is that usually Updraft is going to save at least 2 or 3 copies to your wherever you're backing up. So even if it doesn't have the most recent one, there should be one there from the previous period or the weeks before that. So that's one thing. And now the other thing, even though this failed, I want to show you here on my website here. If you go into the cPanel for your website, then you can basically go to File Manager. And I'm just kind of showing you that Updraft actually does save a backup on your web server as well. So it's kind of like a backup just in case you need it. So when it fails to go to Dropbox, it'll actually put it on your web server for you. So in the worst case scenario, the backup failed and you need a backup, you need the most recent backup, then it is out on your web server. So if you log into your cPanel, go to File Manager, and that's going to look like this, then basically the place you find it is right here in the WP content, and then you just go to Updraft, okay, and then that'll open up and you'll see that the backup files are there. So there you go. That's everything you need to know about doing your backups. Just make sure that you're doing that for each of your sites. Set it up so this happens automatically, and then just check in on it once in a while just to make sure it's working. And that's it for today. So thanks a lot for joining me, guys.